I always call Chris her. I always see her as a lady, but that's the only way that I've ever known her. It's interesting to see when her kids were in town, they call her daddy, and they still have that relationship with her. So Chris kind of defines herself as 50-50, and I think that's another cool thing about her. She doesn't take offense if you call her a guy or a girl.
During one of the Halloweens, a couple of us boys dressed up as cheerleaders. We took our sister's cheerleading outfit, and I loved it. And so that is kind of between that and seeing this nude magazine that I found on the side of the street one day that had a transgender person in there. You flip one page and it shows her covered, so you think it's a girl, and you flip the page and you see everything, and I'm like, oh wow. So I started to put all these things together going, because I lived in a very conservative part of the US, and we didn't have the internet back then. So between, okay, why am I liking female clothes? Why am I stealing girls' panties? Why do I like dressing up for Halloween? Why does this intrigue me, this transgender person? Even though it wasn't sexual, there was an interest in it. And that's my first recollection of, there's something here. And I didn't even know what the word transgender was at the time. Growing up until I was almost 39, 40 years old, and I decided to accept who I am and try to figure this out, I was always ashamed of who I was because I felt embarrassed. Why am I, because it didn't seem like a sexual fetish, it wasn't sexual to me, but why am I wanting to wear female clothes? Why am I stealing girls' panties as a young age? Why am I wanting to dress up like a girl? So I was constantly ashamed and embarrassed. It's almost, cross-dressers go through a purging cycle, where it's very similar to an addiction because they thrive on that. They'll dress up, but then they feel ashamed, embarrassed, like this is wrong, I can't do that, and they'll throw everything away. And then turn around within 4, 5, 6 months, they'll start accumulating things again. And I went through that cycle for 30 years almost, where I would steal some clothes, wear them, or go buy some clothes as I got older, even when I lived by myself, and would still throw them away because I feel like this is wrong, I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed of who I am. Well, I was fearful of telling anyone because I didn't completely understand it. I was ashamed of it, I was embarrassed, and I was not prepared to lose everything, which is what I finally came to a point to, and you have to, if you want to truly be yourself, is I came to a point finally 3 years ago that I was prepared to lose everything and everyone in my life to be myself and be happy. And the great thing about that is once you do it, you really find out who loves you for who you are, not for what you look like, not for what you can give them, not for your status in society, but who will truly stand by you and love you for who you are, even when they don't understand it. And that's the blessing that I was given that I never expected, is I found out with my family, my mother, my sister, some of my friends who really love me for me and nothing else. I've been really fortunate that I've had two wonderful women in my life, my sister Terry and my mom, because they've been so supporting through everything in my whole entire life, even especially as I've come out to them. They've been there for me and told me, I love you, we'll get through this together, and I couldn't do it without them. Well, it's hard to complain when you have a good life. I mean, I was very successful at everything that I've done. I had a lot of good friends. I was successful in business. So part of it is you just think, okay, maybe, is that normal? I mean, being transgender, especially back in the 70s, we didn't have role models. We didn't have books. There was not the internet at the time to actually educate myself to know that it was something like this. So I was battling something that it was almost like I didn't know what I didn't know. I didn't know there was something like this out there. It'd be a lot easier today for a young person who feels like they have transgender issues because Chaz Bono has made such an impact. The internet, it's easy to go look up, why do I like to wear women's clothes? You could type that in and you'll find crossdresser, which in turn would lead you in a direction to try to figure out who you are much earlier. Well, it's easy to say money is not everything when you have money. It's a lot different to say it when you don't have it. And I will say that luckily, because I came from very little money and I earned everything and I was doing extremely well, I can see both sides of it now and honestly say that yes, the money was nice. It makes your life comfortable and allows you tools to do things that you could not do without it, but it doesn't make your soul happy. And that's what, when I came to the realization, decide to go be me and whatever it takes, I wouldn't give it back. Do I make the income level and have the access to things that I did at that time? No, not even close, but I'll get back there. It's just a matter of doing the things that I know how to do and make it happen and make the changes, not only in my life to make me happy, but now my business.
All right, live your life and do all that, but don't come to a competition and rub our faces in the fact that you are changing yourself. What would you say to somebody who said that to you?
I have that happen quite often. They are afraid, and people are afraid of the unknown. People are afraid of what they don't understand. That's why I'm so happy for what Chaz Bono's doing. That's why I feel like I need to do what I'm doing, is to show that there is many of us out there like this. And okay, yes, we're a little bit different, but again, judge me on my heart, my actions, and my behavior. Don't judge me on my appearance. If we're going to do that, we're going to judge everybody the way they walk down the street and the way they look. So if we really want to go down that route, if we just walk down the street and look at everybody that walks outside of a fast food joint, and we want to look and say, okay, this is what we want to represent as our society, as America. So we teach people how to judge a book by a cover, but yes, I know we do. So my case is saying, well, judge me by my actions. Get to know me. Talk to me. Realize that there are people like Chaz Bono and myself out here that we're just normal people trying to live a life that, yes, we're a little bit different, but I see it as, I'm genetically gifted. I'm special. I'm unique. There is nobody in the world like me. So I'm happy to be who I am.
Well, many of the female bodybuilders that I compete against say it's unfair because I'm a male and I have a higher testosterone level, which is actually not true. I'm on 2 testosterone blockers and estrogen, so if we were to take a blood test, it's very likely that their testosterone levels is actually higher than mine and their estrogen is actually lower than mine. So I am really could be at the disadvantage. Well, I started when I was very young, at 6 years old, playing football, and it was a traveling organization. It wasn't one you just signed up for, and I made the team. Played that through 7 years, so I did get into high school, which I played, and I was starting from my freshman year, which is very rare, and I played the toughest position on the field, which is outside linebacker. You have to have speed, agility, and power, and I was very good at that to the point that I was scouted by many colleges and even played professional or semi-professional football right before I graduated college, and it was time to get into the corporate world. When I first thought about it, to be honest, I never would have thought that I could have actually done it. I thought that, when I sent that letter off, I really thought that they probably would not allow me to compete. So to be able to compete was a semi-dream come true. To be able to do it just gave me the drive to saying, okay, I need to do this for the transgender community and for myself.
Christina Bruce. Thank you, Christina. Congratulations, ladies. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Well, growing up being very athletic and into sports, when I started going into therapy, which I was in therapy off and on for almost 10 years, because I would go to therapy for a time or two and then I would again, I was ashamed, embarrassed, and I would stop. Part of it is I didn't want to give up everything I had. I had the American dream. I had the big house and the money and the job and everything you could want. So why don't I just be happy with what I had, because I wasn't happy with myself. And when we would go through therapy, what she would always tell me is, you need to be who you are. Because I would always make up reasons why I couldn't do it. Well, I'm too big to be a girl. Well, said who? There are big girls out there. Well, I like to bodybuild. So do girls like to. There's girl race car drivers. There's girl bodybuilders. You need to be who you are and don't worry about what society thinks you should be. And she taught me a valuable lesson that's helped I carry on my confidence. And what I'm doing today is I'm happy being who I am, not what society thinks I need to be. The hardest thing has been not seeing my children every day. The hardest part is I'd been divorced for 3 years before anyone found out about this. Yeah, the hardest thing has been not seeing my kids every day and having to know that it potentially could be affecting them. Because when I first came out, I told everybody in my life that this is who I am. And everybody but my children, I said, I really want you in my life, but I understand this is different. And so if you need time away, if you just don't want to be around me, that's okay. I was prepared for this. My children are the only people that I try to do everything I can to protect them. So I was not able to keep going to their football games and cheerleading. And I know they're embarrassed. They're afraid their friends will find out. And so that's the hard part. The hard part is not seeing them and knowing that I might be making life harder for them because of this. But that's how important this is. And as much as I hate that it might, I hope they'll understand when they get older that I'm trying to change things. I'm trying to make the world a different place. And I hope I'm demonstrating to them that sometimes you do have to make sacrifices. And if you believe in something, you got to be willing to do everything for it. And that's why, as much as I hate doing this to them, potentially, I hope they'll understand someday.
Probably the most painful thing for Chris is that she can't be with her kids as much as she wants to. It's tough because she's afraid that the kids' friends or their parents might criticize her or be almost offended by her, and she just wants her kids to have as normal a life as possible, and it just kills her. It's so tough, and they love each other so much. I love to see her with the kids. They're great together.
My ex-wife and I can understand. I mean, we were together for 20 years. I'm the father of her children. She's from a very conservative part of the country. She does not like this at all. And she's concerned on the backlash that it's going to have on our children, which I do also, and how she'll be perceived, which that I do have a problem with. It shouldn't affect what I do, should not be the way people perceive you. And if they do, why do you want those people in your life? Regardless if they believe what I'm doing is right or wrong. If they're going to judge her because of me, well, I wouldn't want those people in my life to start with. I understand where she's at. So we do not communicate outside of just whatever's mandatory for the children. We had been divorced about 2 or 3 years before she found out about this, and we used to be able to talk pretty well about things. But in the last 2 years since I started living full time, no, it's just strictly, whatever to do with the kids that we have to speak. Well, society likes to have labels and everything. I mean, my motto is labels are for clothes, I am Chris. But if you have to have a label on me, I like girls. I perceive myself as to be more of a female, so I guess that might be trans lesbian. It really comes down to what difference does it make? It's so different if you're gay, straight. If we're not having sex, what do you care? Being transgender is a unique characteristic of me as a person, but it doesn't define who I am. I mean, I'm a bodybuilder, I'm a fitness model, I'm a business owner, I'm a private pilot, I'm a father of 2 amazing children. Those are the things that define who I am, not my appearance. I think you should judge me on my character, my behavior, my heart, instead of the way I look walking down the street.
Everywhere that we go, she's the center of attention. That's why she's so brave and so inspirational, because she is out there breaking ground for all the transgender people who follow her. And she gets to know people in the community. And it's good to have someone like Chris be the face for the transgender community, because she's a really good role model.